Hey guys, welcome back to the Life After Life podcast. In this podcast, I want to talk a little bit with you about the difference between spirit communication or spirit connection and mediumship. Okay, there's a huge difference between the two and it's not always clear to people. So I wanted to chat about it. Let's get into it. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Life After Life with me, Sandie Byrne. So in this episode, as I said, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between connecting with spirit and being a medium. Okay, as I said at the top of the show, there's a huge difference. Okay, and it's not always clear to people because we don't always talk about it, and that's what I want to do in this episode. Firstly, I want to briefly remind you of the difference between a psychic and a medium. Okay, these are two very different things altogether, okay? Now, I'm not saying that one person can't do both, but it is important to understand the difference between the two, okay? So you may have heard me say this before, but a psychic is someone who reads the energy of the living, and a medium is someone who reads the energy of the dead, okay? So if you're looking to find out what's going on in your life or talk about what's coming up in the future, then you're looking for a psychic reading. However, if on the other hand, you're looking to connect with a loved one that you've lost, or even maybe to connect with your spirit guides, then you're looking for a mediumship reading. Okay, so this is talking to people, getting their opinion about stuff. Okay, so always think about what you need right now. Like, what is your energy craving at the moment you're thinking about having a reading? Now, I'm going to be talking in a minute about connecting with yourself spiritually, okay? Because you'll need to do this to find out what you need, okay? What will raise your energy and what will make you a better spiritual person right now, okay? So in this episode, we're going to be concentrating on the spirit connection and mediumship, okay? And the difference between the two. We're not going to be talking about the psychic stuff in this particular episode, okay? So I'm going to start with spirit connection, okay? This is the beginning of everything for us as humans, okay? Because sometimes we forget this, but we are spiritual beings. So the easiest way to connect with spirit is to connect with yourself, and this is a step that so many people miss out on, okay? It's so easy to forget that we are spiritual beings, okay? Because when we're living here on earth and doing mundane tasks every day, it's not something that's high on our agenda of things to ponder, okay? And I get it. I live a normal life. So sometimes life can feel like it's a chore, okay? Because most of us live regular lives where we worry about paying the bills, keeping the house clean, feeding ourselves, maybe even you have a family to feed and look after, okay? We have to go to work to earn money to pay the bills, etc., 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 okay? And some of these everyday chores, they suck the life out of us. They really do. And we begin to wonder what it's all about. And on top of this, many of us are dealing with unresolved trauma. Maybe from something that we went through in our youth, or many of us are dealing with things that we had to deal with as adults, and all of this can amount to blockages in our energies. Okay, to the point where we're not even sure who we are ourselves as spiritual beings, let alone try to connect with other spiritual beings on earth or in the afterlife or whatever. Okay, and if we can't connect with ourselves, a spiritual being here on earth, or another person who's a spiritual being here on earth, how can we connect with the energy in the spirit world? Like, it's just not possible. Okay. So the first thing that we need to work on to connect spiritually is ourselves. Deal with what you've been going through, what you're going through now and how you're feeling. First and foremost in everything is how you're feeling right now in this moment. Now, I did put together a workshop around this and I just completed it a few weeks ago, okay? And the feedback that I've been getting from people, people who, just after 2 weeks of working with me have broken out of unrewarding patterns, okay, after just 2 weeks, because their energy has completely opened up to the point that they're now manifesting and receiving things that they felt, had eluded them for so long. And this is the first step that everyone needs to take. Okay? So just as a little aside, I am currently tweaking this workshop so it's specifically for spirit communication. And I will be looking to run them in autumn of 2024. Okay, so if you're interested in being notified about these workshops, please join my mailing list or my Patreon free public membership. Okay, you can actually join it now for free. Okay, everything is announced there first, either on my mailing list or on my Patreon public page. Okay, links to sign up to both or either are in the show notes attached to this podcast. Okay. Now, the reason why I talk about the importance of self-connection and self-love so much is because your loved ones in spirit don't connect to me. Okay, they have no connection to me. I'm, a complete stranger to them. Now, that whole process is too complicated to explain here in one podcast. I do teach this in my mediumship training. But simply put, your loved ones visit you within your energy. Okay, so I'm sure we've all heard of the aura that's around us. This is your energy. This is where your loved ones reside. So all a medium does is connect to your aura in order to connect with your loved ones who reside there. It's as simple as that. I wish. I do wish. But it's not quite so simple, but to explain it in a nutshell, that's how it works. Now, for you to develop a connection to your loved ones in spirit, or indeed any spirit, that's a spiritual connection. It's something that you're doing for yourself. Whether it's a connection with your own spiritual self through breath work, mindfulness, yoga, meditation, there's gratitude, affirmations, positivity. I could go on. There's so many ways to connect spiritually with yourself. But once you work on yourself to clear out your own energy, then you create more room for your loved ones, or, spirit in general, be it your guides or whatever. You create more room for them to come in to connect with you. So spirit connection can either be connecting with your own spirit self, your own loved ones in spirit, or any spirit energy, be it spirit guides, angels, or anyone that has passed over to the spirit world. Okay, anything that you do for yourself, for your energy or for your development. Okay, that's spirit connection. Mediumship, on the other hand, is anything you do for someone else. And that's where the term actually comes from. Okay, so a medium is the medium or the middle person between the spirit and somebody else. Okay, and that's why I always tell people to think of a medium as a translator, because spirit are communicating with us. We just need the medium in the middle to translate it into a format that you can understand. It's the very same as if someone was talking to you in Latin. Most of us would need someone to translate the Latin into English or whatever language is your first language for us, so that we could understand what they're talking about. And spiritual mediumship is no different. Spirit are coming through and communicating with us. They're just doing it in a different way than we communicate with each other on a day-to-day basis. So we need the translator or the medium to translate what they're communicating into a format that we can understand. Okay, are you with me? I hope so. Because just going back to it very quickly, spirit communication or spirit connection, it's you connecting with spirit, okay? But you're doing it for yourself. It's connecting to your own spirit self, your own loved ones, your own spirit guides, for your own personal development, okay? Or your own spiritual development. But when you're doing mediumship, it's still spirit connection, but you're just being the mediator, the middle person, or the translator, that you're doing it for somebody else. Okay? So therefore, it's very different to being a medium than it is to be a spirit communicator. Because as a medium, you're not thinking of what you need to get from a reading or from the communication. You're putting the wants and the needs of the person that you're connecting for first and foremost. This is a very different thing than doing it for yourself. it really does require a lot more patience and compassion. And, it also requires a level of psychic ability also, because every single medium will assess you before they read for you. They will assess where you are emotionally, because they need to know how much information you will be able to process during a reading. Okay? So for example, what kind of medium would I be if I told someone who was contemplating suicide that their loved one who had passed before them is really happy and doesn't miss anything about this earthly life, okay, and that they're only waiting for the person to join them? That's not compassion. That's telling someone what they want to hear in order to justify their decisions. As a medium, you need to be able to read the person you're reading for, as well as communicate with the spirit that they're looking to connect with. Okay, because being a medium carries a lot of pressure, in my opinion. Okay, and I feel the weight of that in every single reading. Okay, let me tell you, I really do. I want every reading to be an experience for the person that I'm reading for. And I've heard mediums talk about loved ones, watching the sunrise and feeling their heightened energy in the spirit world. Yes, I'm not saying it's not relevant. Of course it's relevant, and most definitely something that they would do. But what does that give the person that you're reading for? Not much, in my opinion. And this is why it's important to be able to assess who you're reading for. Okay? Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Okay, I wish I was. Nobody is perfect, much less a medium. There are people that I'm going to connect with better than others, for different reasons. If you go to a mediumship reading completely stressed out over work or children or bills, or you're sick or still in the early stages of grief, then all these things are going to clog up your energy and make it more difficult for your loved ones to find the space in your energy for them to connect with you. Okay? Or more importantly, with the medium during your reading. Okay? So you're not just looking for, them to connect with their loved ones. You're looking for them to connect with you. Okay? And this takes me back to the first point that I made earlier. Everyone could do with doing more work on themselves before attempting to connect to spirit. Clear out your energy. Give yourself the best chance to get the reading that you need. When I take bookings, I send everyone who books with me a checklist. A checklist of things that they can do to get themselves ready for their mediumship reading. But as a medium, there's also a lot of things to consider when you're reading for somebody else. And that's why there are 3 stages to readings that I teach when I'm teaching mediumship. Because as a medium, you need to ensure that you cover all bases. Because a reading is most likely a once-in-a-lifetime thing for the person who's come to you. The last thing that I or any medium wants is for someone to go away disappointed. There will be times when it can't be helped, but as a rule, we try hard to give them what they need. And this is where the compassion comes in. Now, don't get me wrong. As mediums, we do not change or alter what we get from spirit. We pass it on as it is. But how we deliver messages is very important. People come to connect with their loved ones because they're grieving or they're going through a hard time or whatever. The last thing they need is to deal with a medium who's not understanding or compassionate. Someone who's only looking at the clock. The space for spirit to connect needs to be loving, uninhibited, understanding, sympathetic, and, in my opinion, perhaps most importantly of all, transparent. Nobody wants a medium who's going to push a reading or embellish what's coming through. So being open and transparent is so important. People know their loved ones, so they're going to know if you're connected to their loved ones or not. Now, as I say, I'm not perfect, and there have been a few occasions over the years where I've said to someone that this just isn't happening today. It doesn't happen often, but if it does, I will say it out, because we can reschedule for a time that works better for both of us. Maybe I'm feeling under the weather. Maybe the person isn't ready right at that time. Whatever the case may be, I've rescheduled sometimes for a few days or a couple of weeks after, and boom, it generally all works well and goes to plan. Okay? Because spirit will make themselves available to us, as much as they can anyway. But there will be times when, for one of many various reasons, the connection just doesn't work. And, that's okay. And I've actually found that when I've been honest about this, that the person that I'm reading for relaxes more, and then they feel like they're not being lied to, and they're happy to reschedule. This takes away their concerns and anxieties about the reading, and it allows their energy to open up. And then in turn, it allows more room for spirit to come in and communicate. So being open and transparent, it does help everybody. And again, we're back to talking about opening up the energy to allow spirit room to come in. So I hope you can see how things come full circle. You connect with yourself, you open your energy, then you allow spirit to come in, then you can connect for yourself and develop yourself enough to allow yourself to connect for others, i.e. mediumship. Okay? So mediumship is more than just spirit connection. It's developing your best traits so that you can be the best translator for your clients. The person who is not only compassionate to them and their needs, but also being compassionate to their loved ones in spirit and the needs of their loved ones in spirit. Okay? Mediumship isn't just throwing your hat into the ring and hoping for the best. When someone makes themselves vulnerable to you, then you need to respect that and work with their best interests in mind. You can actually make or break someone during a reading, and also through your actions in life as well. So always be the best and the most prepared that you can possibly be, so that everyone can benefit from the awesomeness that is you and your ability. Okay? I really hope that this little chat has given you some insight into the difference between connecting with spirit and being somebody's medium, okay? Without actually having confused you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on social media. You'll find all of the links in the show notes attached to this podcast. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up or a 5-star rating, depending on where you're watching or listening, okay? Because the content of this podcast is so relevant to everyone, who's interested in mediumship. So by giving a rating, you can actually help more people to see the podcast. Okay? And because the content of this particular episode is so relevant and so important for everyone to understand, I'm also releasing the video format of this podcast on YouTube. Okay? Normally the video format is only available to my Patreon subscribers, and it's released 24 hours before the audio version is released to the general public. Okay, but just for this episode, I'm going to put this out on general video release on YouTube, because I think, understanding this difference is so important, because a lot of people feel that just because they can get signs or whatever from their loved ones in spirit, that they can now work as a medium and, do readings for other people. Now, I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm just saying that doing more self-development, I suppose, and developing your ability more is so important, because, somebody's putting their whole trust system, their whole belief in you. Okay? So I would ask also, that if you are enjoying the podcast, please do consider joining my Patreon, okay? Just for a very small amount every month. That helps me to produce the podcast. And in turn, you get extra benefits, including a live chat. We do a live Q&A session and some tarot card readings. And we do that once every single month for the subscribers, okay? So please do consider it. You'll find all the details on the Patreon page. So the link again is in the show notes attached here. So for now, I will say thank you for listening, and I will catch you in the next episode of Life After Life. So until then, take care and stay safe.
Discussing everything